Hi friends! So today is going to be a video that is going to start off a series on my channel that I'm going to call Season of Citrus because it sounds fun, but also I've been really inspired to do a lot of citrus related canning projects recently because citrus is really in season right now. It is January. And Sam's Club near me has a lot of sales on produce, specifically citrus produce. And so I wanted to go ahead and share some videos where I am doing some preserving projects with them. So I wanted to do this for a couple of reasons. So the first is that there's sales and citrus is in season right now. Two, so my partner and I never really have like good snacks in the house, and so today's recipe is going to hopefully help address that and give us some quick breakfasts and snacks and just kind of get more fruit into our diet. So today, what we're going to be doing is me and my partner just sat down and peeled all of these oranges. So we are going to can them up in a simple syrup made from water and honey, and it's going to be super yummy, I hope, and just give us a chance to be able to get more fruit into our diets and have oranges just kind of ready to go as a snack. I really love oranges, but hate going through and peeling them and always kind of forget about them. And a lot of the times when I buy produce, if it's not preserved like this in smaller quantities, I really forget about it, especially fruits, and I hate throwing them away. So hopefully this will give us a way better option and be a little more cost effective. So starting out, we've got our water bath canner right here, and it is heating up with a bunch of quart jars in there that we're going to use to store the oranges. And so that is just heating up after I ran those quart jars through the dishwasher for a cycle to just make sure they were all clean and sterile. So our next step is to, since we have the oranges peeled and everything, we're going to get going on this syrup, which is going to be super simple. So the ratio that I found some people using online that I'm going to do is adding 4 cups of water into this pot, and then we're going to add 1.5 cups of this honey that we have. So it might actually, let's go ahead and remove this cover because that might make it a little bit easier. So I've got my 1/2 cup measuring cup here, and I'm going to get 1.5 cups of honey in this, and then we're going to bring this simple syrup up to a boil. The nice thing that I like about this and using the honey for the simple syrup is that it kind of combines the 2 recipes that I wanted to try to do, which was canning the oranges just on their own and then also making some like honey orange slices. And so instead I'm just going to use the honey syrup for these oranges, and I think it'll be a nice kind of middle ground. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside so that can be cleaned out a little bit later. And then I am going to grab a rubber spatula here, just make sure we're not leaving any honey behind. Okay, so I'm going to stir this up so that way we can get this going, and then I will come back to you when we are ready to go ahead and start filling our jars and getting them in the actual canner. Today is a pretty simple recipe with simple syrup, but thanks for hanging out in my kitchen today and sticking with me. I'll see you in a little bit. So one thing that I figured I could talk about while we're waiting for these things to heat up is I have right here a jar, a mason jar, that I put a bunch of the peels that we already started working on some of the projects. These videos are filmed a little out of order, so we've already got some orange peels, some lemon peels, and some lime peels in here from a project we did yesterday, but actually is going to be a future video where we make mango chutney. And so I have them soaking in here because what you can actually do is use the peels from these different types of citrus to infuse the vinegar, and it essentially makes a homemade cleaner. So I think that's kind of exciting since we have a lot of vinegar and we have these peels. We can go ahead and make cleaner that we can use to clean up the counters and different things. And it means that very little pieces of the fruit are actually going to waste. So I'm going to add some more in here, wait for these to cook up, and then I will be back with you. Okay, so I actually had enough to make 2 of these jars of the citrus peels with the vinegar. So now I'm gonna go store them in a dark place for a couple weeks, and then I think they'll be ready to use. Okay, so the simple syrup is boiling and our jars are warmed up, so I brought you in a little closer so you can see how we're gonna do this. So essentially, I'm just gonna take my quarts here, and I am going to just start filling them with these oranges and just trying to fit as many as I can in there. And I decided that I wanted to can these in quarts because I thought that pints were a little too small, and if we have quarts, you know, we can take an entire one out off the pantry shelf and open it and just kind of be snacking on them throughout the week and store it in the fridge. And so that's why I'm canning them in the bigger size. I also just wanted to save myself a little bit of space and time canning these. So I'm just gonna gently kind of push on them and get them to fill down in there. And then we'll also debubble and kind of move things around once we get this syrup in there. So I am going for 1/2 inch of headspace. So next I'm going to just put my funnel on here and take this simple syrup of the water and the honey that we made, and I'm just gonna fill this jar up. And then we will go ahead and debubble and see if we need to add more liquid or what things are looking like. Ooh, I'm so excited for this. I think it's gonna taste really good, and we will have oranges to last us quite a while. Okay, so I'm gonna fill it up that high. Actually go ahead and set this aside, grab my debubbler, and we are going to try to make our way down in there, try to stir things around, make sure that there are no air pockets. And as you can see, as we do this, bubbles are coming up from the bottom. That means we're doing good. Wiggling this in there, trying to... And you'll see the there actually opened up more room doing that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put maybe 1 or 2 more orange slices in there. Oh, actually maybe a couple more can fit. And now we're getting to be too high on headspace. So it's just kind of a process. So I'm gonna just take this spoon, take a bit of that simple syrup out, add it back to our main pot, and then I'm gonna measure for headspace. Okay. Put that over there. So right here is 1/2 inch, so we can actually add just a little bit more of that simple syrup in there. Okay, perfect. So there we are. So what we're gonna do next, I'll show you this entire jar and then we will come back once I've done the rest of them. So I'm gonna take a towel dipped in some vinegar and just make sure I wipe that edge really good, especially working with the honey and it being so sticky. I wanna make sure that we're good there. And then I'm going to take my rings and lids, and I'm gonna put a lid on here and put my ring on, and then I'm going to twist this until I can get some resistance and then just finger tight. Okay, and I'm gonna move that over and we'll get it in the water bath canner once we have all of these taken care of. So when I was peeling these oranges, what I went ahead and did, actually what my partner helped me with, was we made sure that as we were peeling, we were trying to get off as much of the white pith and the stringy parts from the outside of the oranges as possible. That was one of the recommendations that I saw in a couple of the videos and the recipes that I saw. I don't know if it is like if there's a canning reason that they recommend that, or if that's because the pith is just kind of bitter. So like oftentimes when you're making marmalades or different things like that, I think you want to remove as much of that pith as possible. Or when you're when you're zesting an orange and things like that, you don't want to get a lot of that pith, that white part, because it's really bitter and can make the marmalade or the jelly bitter. So that's my guess. But we just tried to get off as much as we could, and if there was still some left on there, that's okay, and we left it. Oh my goodness, these jars look gorgeous, full of the amber kind of liquid from the honey and the water, and then also the oranges floating in there. Also, as a note, if you try this yourself, I will just say these, I'm realizing that making one batch of this simple syrup, 4 cups of water and 1.5 cups of honey, actually is only enough for maybe 2.5 of these quart jars. So that's something to think about in the future. I'm definitely going to have to make up some more of this liquid, this simple syrup, to go in there. And I also keep overfilling these by quite a bit. So now that I'm done jarring these up, I am going to transfer them into the water bath canner, which is continuing to warm up, and once that reaches that rolling boil, then I'm going to let it do that for boil and go for 15 minutes because of my elevation. And after that 15 minutes, I'll let the jars cool down for 5 minutes in the canner, and then I will remove them and let them sit for 12 to 24 hours just on this towel I have over here. Now my water bath canner is a little full. There's a little bit too much water in there, so I'm just removing some of it so I can get this last jar in without overflowing it. And then we will go ahead and get this up to a boil. Sorry if you can hear my dryer in the background. It is the next day after we did all of the canning of the oranges, and I just wanted to check in and show you how they turned out and kind of talk about it. I was a little rushed on that day. I was meeting up with some friends, and so my partner actually finished up taking these out of the canner and everything. So I wanted to check back in with you and show you the kind of end result. So all 7 of our quart jars ended up sealing, and they all look absolutely gorgeous. The one thing is, after they were taken out of the canner, I think one or some of them might have siphoned a little bit because the jars were very sticky, more like a citrus sticky, but there was also the honey syrup in there that we canned. And so I'm not quite sure. I think this might have been the jar that siphoned the most, but the liquid is still way up here. And some of them, the liquid levels are kind of all over the place with them, but this is probably the lowest. So I'll bring this closer so you can maybe see. So the liquid is still right about there on this jar. So I think these are still good to go. All of them sealed. I can hold them by their seal, and they all are concave and everything. So I wiped them down and I'm gonna store them in the pantry, and I'm very excited to dig into these and have these as a snack. And I also just cannot believe how gorgeous these are. So, thanks for sticking with us. I hope you are able to try a project like this or something similar. If you have ideas of other ways to use these, other than just taking them and eating them on their own, please let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I had a bunch of fun today, or I guess yesterday, and I will see you in the next video. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see the next season of Citrus video. I'll talk to you then. And until next time, stay grounded.